my softball team. Non-existent now due to quarantine. We move on to the other names of note on offense in the Big Ten in terms of 2020 NFL draft prospects. We just wanted to drop a few offensive linemen. Again, I said at the end of the last cast of the other names of note that, this is the Big Ten, and they grow these boys out in the fields, right in the backyard. So we'll start. We do want to mention a few names. I'm sure all of them will get drafted, to be honest with you, that we may mention here. The ones on the later end, maybe not, maybe undrafted. Maybe UFAs. All right, we'll start at the top. From Amherst, Wisconsin, a redshirt junior center for the Badgers, Mr. Tyler. How do you think you say it, Dave?
I was going to go look for somewhere where they tell us.
Biadish.
I saw Tyler Badass as his nickname.
I like it. This guy is, again, he's a center, 6'4", 314 pounds, 32 4th-inch arms, 10-inch hands. A guy that, like I said, he was a junior, right? Yeah. He's been a beast for them. You talk about Jonathan Taylor and all his successes and rushing records. It really kind of starts, you got to give a lot of credit to those big uglies up front, and this is one of the guys that made it happen. He won the Tim Krumrie Award in high school.
Tim Krumrie played for?
The Bengals?
Yes, sir. Just checking.
Yeah. I'll never forget it, man. It's his leg flopping in the wind in the Super Bowl against the 49ers will forever be stained into my memory. I mean, completely rubber.
That's like one of those like what's his name, the quarterback Theismann, and who was the kid, Napoleon Kaufman for the Raiders.
Yes.
Like one of those ones where you just see it and you're just like
rewind, pause, rewind, slow-mo, rewind, pause.
It's not supposed to do that.
All right, so I guess this was a top D lineman in high school. He won that. But yeah, he's been a consummate for this team at center. He had a little bit of hip surgery before this past season, but still got back to the field and was a starter for all 14 games at center. Obviously, they made where did they play? They play a Rose Bowl against Oregon?
Yeah, Oregon.
Yeah, so, I mean, though it wasn't a college football playoff, it's probably the next biggest thing. Got anything you want to say on Mr. Biadish?
Well, you know how I say about the
Mr.
centers.
Badass?
He kind of gets, his overview is in the limited upside. I'm going to say this. He's a center. Always like my centers because they're smart guys.
Yep.
They're not just like road graders. They have to have some level of intelligence. That offensive line was very strong. He was the leader of that offensive line. This is the kind of guy I could see outperforming, where they believe he is. Some people are upping his draft status. I've seen this guy anywhere from, being grouped with the Cesar Ruiz and the guy Cushenberry.
Lloyd Christmas?
Yeah, I've seen him pushed in there, but I've also seen him, out in the 7 or 8 range as far as interior offensive linemen.
Right.
I like centers because I think when you can play the game with intelligence, even with limited ability and physicality, the only thing that I would like to see a little bit more out of his game, because I just like this in my interior alignment. I like it in all linemen, but just a little bit of nastiness. I think that, because I've seen undersized, under-athletic guys do really well in the NFL. I think this guy projects as a starter.
Yeah, I mean, look,
I think he's
understand the nastiness from interior offensive line, but I'd almost go as far as to say his guard. Because, I mean, there is a certain how do I say it? A certain level of level-headedness a center needs to maintain. He's the quarterback of that line. He's an easy guy to watch tape on because Jonathan Taylor has a lot of tape.
Yes.
Okay, and honestly, you could see this guy. He does. You watch him. He's great at getting to the second level. I don't think he's super fast, but he takes good angles to get to the second level. Gets his hands on guys. Doesn't let go. Doesn't get called for holding. Has good technique in terms of where he has his hands and drives people. Finishes blocks. Where you might have some concern is also in double teams. That's the other thing you see. If you have double team blocks, which the center does a lot, okay, does very well at that. Where you may have concern and you really don't have as much of it is in pass blocking. Now, fortunately, he's a center. He'll get some help with the guys around him, but he's got to have a really good anchor. And one of the things I saw in a weakness of his that they've said is that his anchor might be below average. So he's got to be able to do that. And again, they ran the ball all the time. They didn't throw it a lot. So it's not something that he's probably used to. Now, is it something he can learn? I mean, with the right team, sure. But he's gonna go, and he's gonna go, probably pretty early for interior offensive line.
Yep.
Next guy. Let's see here. Whew. Badass. All right. From Heartland, Wisconsin, a senior for the Michigan Wolverines, guard, Ben Bredesen. He's 6'5", 315, 31 1/8 inch arms, 10 1/8 inch hands. Big. I don't know if you want your guards to be that big, but can't really hurt if they can still, anchor down as well as move.
Yeah, you get concerned about bend when you start getting tall because that's a heavy squat position. You got to be low. You're generally, you're fighting against defensive linemen that the name of the game is who can get lower. So, you're down in a position, but you're going against fronts where guys have got both hands, at least one hand, but usually both hands in the ground. So
Yep. Well, he's let's see. At Michigan, in 2017 he started all 12 games and he was playing left guard. He won second team all conference honors. In 2018 he was named the team captain. He started all 13 games at left guard, earning second team all Big Ten. And again, a captain in 2019, started all 13 games at left guard and received third team all AP All-American and first team all conference.
Yep.
So again, got better every year especially for a lineman and interior lineman. That's some good. Those are some good things to see. This seems like a pretty smart guy.
Like the team captain stuff. That's
the
big.
team captain stuff is great. That is really, really great. So
I think this guy's a starter in the NFL.
Yeah.
Again, because we're talking about these other positions, and we're like, can these guys
6'5",
carve out a role?
315 is a husk. Dude.
This guy's a guy that's outside of the top linemen, that we talked about already, or the top players, so to speak. But yet, still, I think certainly what generally you see is anywhere from a second to a fifth rounder is where these guys usually fall. This guy gets drafted, I think, whether he gets on the team right away depends upon how far, or not get on the team, but whether he gets a starting job right off the bat depends on what the needs are of the team. But it's a guy that can fight for a position and certainly can play the interior. He's a good ad. I just, I look at the Big Ten. I like their linemen. You can't not,
Yeah, I know.
Especially with what you saw out of some of the running games at these teams. And, Michigan was pretty limited really all the way around, I think, in talent in the skill positions, but still managed to play pretty tough on the line. And obviously they've got a high-end guy in their center in Ruiz. So,
Ruiz!
So I like this kid. I think he's got a chance to go in and get attention early on a team.
Awesome. Awesome look. All right, let's move on to the next guy we got here. From Media, Pennsylvania, redshirt senior for the Ohio State Buckeyes, offensive guard Jonah Jackson. More of maybe a typical height for a guard at 6'3", as well as weight 306, 33.5 inch arms, 10.5 inch hands. Do have some combine numbers. 5'2", 340, 28 reps on the bench, not too bad. Let's see. His shuttle was a 5.02, 7.83 cone.
Yeah, this kid's he's a grad transfer. Went from Rutgers, who's a pretty poopy college program.
In the same
conference. And he went to Ohio State. Ohio State had some openings on offensive line this year, and he won one of the guard spots. And look, you just go by accolades here. He was a third-team All-American, first-team Big Ten. There's a lot of good talent in there, and this guy's getting recognized. I think this guy's a solid player. And you can't deny. I mean, we talk about how wide open some of their players were, their runs were, everything, and that all starts up front. And I think this is definitely, a kid worth looking at. I just see it. I see where this kid's going to do some things that are going to be that'll be impressive. I think he could be a solid player in the NFL. I really, truthfully, all these guys that I'm looking at, we're going to talk about a couple more. Have a shot, but I would say the top 4 definitely, I think, get drafted and get a shot at a job.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's move on, my friend. Here's a name you may remember.
I do.
All right. Let's see. From Moorestown, New Jersey, a redshirt senior for the Michigan Wolverines. A lot of Wolverine offensive linemen, because the next guy is a guard, as is this guy.
Yep.
For the Wolverines, Mr. John Runyon Jr. stands at 6'4", 306, 33 1/4 inch arms, 9 1/8 inch hands, combine stuff, 5.08 40, 24 on the bencher, 4.69 20-yard shuttle, 7.57 3-cone.
Let's talk.
Mr. John.
Let's talk a
Runyon
little. Let's talk a
Junior.
little. Let's talk
So
a little
who's
side
John
work.
Runyon Senior.
Yeah, let's do that. So, did not know this. Okay, here's how I remember John Runyon, and this is probably disturbing to most. It's a little bit disturbing to me, and this is how I remember him. John Runyon had hair that started at the top of his head and must have gone all the way down to his ankles. I've never seen a hairier neck than this dude. Now, Mr. Runyon, did you know this? If you'll remember, he played a lot in Philadelphia, so he's from Moorestown.
I know. Oh, believe me, I know. I'm the Giants fan.
I did not know, though, that he is actually, his dad is a congressman.
I didn't.
Yeah,
actually,
I didn't know that.
I think I heard that. Is he a Hall of Famer?
He was a congressman. I apologize. I don't know.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
That's a good question. I don't know that. Could be. I would say borderline, but definitely. I mean, this guy had a long career and was a rock, an anchor.
He was really good.
Yeah, so that's a good question.
NFL Pro Bowl right tackle.
John Runyon, HOF.
Oh, I see.
I want to know. I want to know.
All right. Well, while you do.
Doesn't say that he is.
Let me talk a little bit about Junior.
Didn't he play tackle, though?
Yes.
He was a tackle, right? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Son.
Listen, Son, consistent player for Michigan. I think they're all these guys. There's a reason all these guys, and it's not who made who. These guys were drafted as high prospects out of high school, and they were in a good system with good coaching on the offensive line. I'm not saying in particular Mr. Harbaugh, although maybe some of Harbaugh's offensive prowess led to the
prowess
led to the development of these guys in the right manner. But this is a guy, I mean, obviously being around the game so much, he's and this position, very smart, very instinctive, and with a game that has changed so much, especially from his father's time and seeing it now, he's adapted with it. He is the it's funny. He is the his dad played at a time when the NFL was just a completely different game, and now you fast forward to his son about to start, and it's a different game. But both of them are just fantastically suited for their own game during their own time in that respect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I was trying to figure out. I wanted to know where this kid went to school because they list him as Moorestown, but
he went to St. Joe's.
But he went to St. Joe's in Philly.
In high school. Yeah,
yeah. I just was curious in Philly, so he went across the river.
Yep.
I'll tell you what. I'm just gonna say it, and then I'm gonna cut it short because I've been puking this out over everybody. love this pedigree. Love it.
I love it.
Love this
look,
pedigree.
He's a guy that if he's gone. He's gone for sure. I just don't know how high, but like where I see him kind of falling in the draft on that draft network thing, and where it's going to sit, it's going to be, I think he could be a considerable value. I just do.
Yeah, I do. Well,
for a team like the Giants, who I keep saying, if we're going to drop back in a queue, because we don't have a third-round pick, maybe pick up a third-round pick, something else, and drop a little bit back and then take one of those big linemen in the first round. But I want Isaiah at 4, and if we do that, then we brought in some linemen in free agency, but where do we go find a young lineman? Like, this is where I start to see some guys like this that I'm like, wow, can you imagine if he played in New York? Woo! Yeah! Wow, a house divided. All right, move on to the next guy. We're going to talk about another Michigan Wolverine. And again, one of the top 12 guys in the Big Ten overall with Chase Young and Okudah. And Epineza is center Cesar Ruiz. But yet we have another guy. We just rattled off 2 other guys that played at guard for them. Am I right? Yeah. Oh, there's another guy, senior from Detroit. Mike Onwenu.
From Detroit.
Detroit.
You sound like you live there.
Onwenu is how you say it. Onwenu. He's 6'3", 344, 34 3/8-inch arms, 10.5-inch hands. So, not as tall, but still tall. Just a load. Long-ass arms and big-ass hands. Threw up 26 reps at the combine. This is the type of guy another one that I see, like offensive guard size, like 6'2", 6'3", somewhere between like that 330 and 350, just load. Just great anchor.
The concerns with a guy like this are real simple. Like, he's going to be able to drive you. He's going to be able, if he gets his hands on you, to control you because he's got that weight to strength ratio. His challenge is going to be the NFL. I mean, you remember it I remember D tackles.
If he just has to sit in at guard and block.
Do you remember
but if he deals with speed or has to start running? Uh-oh.
Well, I think back to the Bears in the early 2000s had a guy, what did they have? What's his name? Not Fred Taylor. Tractor Trailer, they called him. Like, they had 2
Tractor Trailer.
He used to play for the Bills, and I'm confusing the 2 guys that played next to each other. I think it was Robert Trailer, maybe. But these guys, my point is this: these guys were like, they had like a little junk in the trunk. They had a little spare tire going on, but they were incredibly athletic. They were big guys. That used to be the mold of the D tackle. Seldom would you see a D tackle built like a V. Now you got guys like Aaron Donald who are kind of changing the build of these guys that they're going against. And that's the challenge, is the speed level of the large guys has absolutely changed in the NFL on the lines. And so this is a guy that may struggle handling some of that speed from the interior. You don't see a whole lot of guys with big, ugly guts. And you used to see that a lot. I mean, Vince Wilfork. Yep. Let's go to that guy. That guy had weight everywhere. That guy's ears were fat. And he was awesome. He was just awesome, but it was because he was so athletic for his size. Now guys are all athletic everywhere. So I think that could be his biggest challenge, but if you can create some of that ability and create the right scheme for him to play in, 344 is hard to handle. Yeah. If you can allow him to stay, like you always use the term, stay anchored. If he can do that, this guy's going to be tough.
Yep. All right, a couple other names we just want to drop from the Big Ten on the offensive line side. You have Simon Stepniak from Indiana. You've got Brandon Bowers from Ohio State, Tyler Higbee from Michigan State, and Steven Gonzalez from Penn State.
I think it's Brandon Bowen from Ohio State.
Is it? Oh, it is. It is Brandon Bowen. I'm sorry. I can't read my own writing. So those are all the offensive linemen that are eligible for the draft this year out of the Big Ten. Also, a couple other quick names of note. Not that a lot of teams in the NFL use a fullback or full-time, maybe even part-time. Brady Ross from Iowa and Richie Worship from Purdue. A couple of fullbacks coming out of the Big Ten. Again, it's seldomly used, and teams that do have their guy. So that'll be it. We'll talk about some names on the defense on the next one for the Big Ten.
Wrap it up.
Then we will wrap up the prospects for the Big Ten Conference and move into the Big 12. See you next time
On the gridiron?
Woo!